Hey, you ever worked a late shift? That eerie, empty feeling when the world is asleep, but you're still out there, awake, alone. I used to work the night shift at a small highway diner in Washington. Quiet place, isolated. We closed at 2 a.m., but sometimes we got last-minute stragglers. That night, I wish we hadn't. Let me ask you something. If you were working alone and a customer gave you a bad feeling, would you listen to your gut or would you brush it off? Think about it, because I should have listened to mine. It was 1:50 a.m. when he walked in. Heavy-set guy, awkwardly high jeans, brown jacket, mustache, glasses. But it wasn't his appearance that unsettled me. It was his smile. Too wide, too long, like he was waiting for something. Table or bar? I asked. Table, he said, still smiling. I handed him a menu and casually mentioned, kitchen closes in 10 minutes. He didn't even glance at the menu, just said, black coffee, French toast. Then, as if we were old friends, he smiled wider and said, name's Nolan. Now, I've lived in the South before. People talk down there, small talk, friendly banter. But up here, not so much. And especially not at 2 a.m. So why was he trying so hard? The chef's reaction confirmed it. When I gave him the order, he just sighed, shook his head. We both felt it, like something was off. When Nolan finally left, I grabbed my things, waved to the chef, and stepped outside. That's when I noticed it. 3 cars in the lot. Mine, the chef's, and a third one. A silver, older model, parked in the dark, engine off. The windows? Too dark to see inside. I felt it then, that instinctive primal feeling, the one that whispers, you are not alone. I hurried into my car, locked the doors, and started driving. But then, ding, dashboard, alert, tire pressure low. My stomach dropped. I glanced at the screen. My rear passenger tire was losing air. Fast, 20 pounds per square inch, 10 psi, 5 pasi. And then, thump, thump, thump. The whole car shook. I had no choice. I pulled over. And that's when the headlights appeared. A car slowed down, stopped. My breath hitched. My pulse pounded. A shadow stepped out. It was him. Question for you. All right, let's pause here. What would you do? 1. Stay inside, lock the doors, and call for help. 2. Roll down the window and pretend everything's fine. 3. Get out. Act casual, and hope he doesn't notice your fear. Think about it. Drop your answer in the comments. Now let me tell you what I did. I locked my doors, but he was already at my window. Tap, tap, tap. That damn smile was still there. Kathy, he said, what a coincidence. He laughed. Too friendly, too rehearsed. I barely rolled down my window. I have a flat, I said. He feigned concern. Oh no, which tire? I told him. And while he walked around to check, I quietly dialed 911. The operator answered. I kept my voice light, casual. Oh, I'm fine. My boyfriend's coming to help. Nolan's smile twitched. He heard that. He knew I was lying. Then, crash. The passenger window exploded. Shards of glass flew onto my lap. I screamed. Nolan lunged. Not for me, but for my phone. He ripped it from my hands and hurled it into the dark. Then he ran. I sat frozen, shaken, until flashing lights appeared in the distance. The police. They found my phone, screen shattered, unusable. They reviewed the diner's security footage. They took my statement. But Nolan never caught. I never went back to that diner again. And every time I drive alone at night, I wonder, is he still out there? Waiting for another flat tire. Waiting for another late-night waitress. Waiting for you. Would you have done anything differently? Or do you think he would have found a way? No matter what, let me know in the comments. Stay safe out there. And remember, you ever get the feeling you're being watched? Not just glanced at, but really watched. Like someone studying you, waiting for the perfect moment. Because I have, and I'll never forget it. I was 15 years old, working at an amusement park in upstate New York. It was a crisp October Sunday. One of the last days before the park shut down for winter. Just another long shift. Just another normal day. Or so I thought. It was 4:55 p.m. Only 5 more minutes till I could clock out. That's when I saw him. A man. Scraggly beard. Messy hair. Clothes stained and full of holes. He was shifting his head, looking over his shoulder like he was being followed. I felt something off. Mo, I asked. Can I help you? Silence. Just staring. His lips twitched like he was about to speak. But nothing came out. I asked again, a little annoyed this time. Sir, can I help you? Finally, in a yay. Whisper. He spoke. Where are your bathrooms? His voice barely made it past his lips. I pointed up the hill. To the right. He didn't thank me. He just turned and kept looking back at me. It wasn't normal. It wasn't casual. It was like he was making sure I was still there. And at that moment, I knew this man wasn't just lost. A question for you? All right, let's pause for a second. Imagine you were in my shoes. Would you, 1, ignore it, finish your shift, and go home like normal? 2, report it to security just in case? 3, leave early because something feels wrong? Drop your answer in the comments. Now let me tell you what I did. After my shift, I changed clothes and waited for my coworker Jordan to pick me up. Before heading home, we stopped at a local diner for burgers, and that's when my stomach dropped. Sitting just a few tables away was the same man. His eyes locked onto me. Unblinking, my chest tightened. I whispered to Jordan, "That's the guy from the park." Jordan shrugged. "Dude, it's probably just a coincidence. Don't freak out." But my gut told me otherwise. I tried to ignore him. I focused on my burger. But every time I glanced up, he was still staring. He never touched his food. Never looked at anything else, just me. And that's when I knew this wasn't a coincidence. After dinner, Jordan and I got back in the car. It was a 35-minute drive home. I was starting to relax. Maybe Jordan was right. Then we hit a red light, and I saw it. A white Honda. Pulled up right next to us, and inside, him, his face, turned directly toward mine. Smiling, I whispered, "Jordan, it's him." Jordan's grip tightened on the wheel. Okay, now I'm freaked out. We tried to lose him, took weird turns, drove around the block. Eventually his car was gone. Or so we thought. He will found me anyway. Jordan dropped me off at home. My house was empty. Mom and sister were out. Dad was on a business trip. I locked every door, closed every curtain. Then as I climbed into bed, I heard it, a soft noise at my window. I froze. Slowly. I turned my head, and my blood ran cold. He was there, standing on my front lawn, smiling. Final question for you. What would you do? 1, call 911 immediately. 2, hide and pray he leaves. 3, grab a weapon and prepare for the worst. Tell me in the comments. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, but by the time the police arrived, he was gone. No footprints, no sign of a car, nothing. I quit my job at the amusement park as soon as it closed for winter. I never saw him again. But sometimes, when I'm out late at night, I get that feeling. Like someone, somewhere, is still watching me, waiting, and I wonder, did I really lose him? Or is he just waiting for the right moment? Do you live alone? Have you ever answered a question you shouldn't have? A question that, at the time, seemed harmless. Like when a stranger asks where you live, or worse, if you live alone. Because I did, and I'm convinced that's what almost got me killed. I was out working a late shift at the small diner where I'd been waitressing for a year. It was pouring. One of those nights where the sky just won't stop crying. Rain usually meant fewer customers, and for the most part, it was a slow, quiet night until they walked in. A man and a woman. He was in his 40s, scruffy, knees dark and alert. She looked much younger, maybe mid-20s, but the moment they stepped inside, both of them looked straight at me. I greeted them, led them to a table and handed them menus. But as they sat there, they barely spoke, except in whispers, and something felt Off. The question that still haunts me. When they finally ordered, the man struck up a conversation with me. I'm a talkative person. I've always thrived in the hospitality industry, so I chatted with him. But this girl barely spoke. She just sat there, quiet, expressionless. So I directed most of my questions to the man. He asked me about work, the town, if I liked living here. Then he asked me, so casually, so smoothly, "Do you live alone?" I didn't even think twice. "Yeah," I said. "I live about 10 minutes up the road. It's super quiet and boring here. I even joked about being stuck in this town forever." And he just smiled. The rainy drive home. They left after about 45 minutes. An hour later, I clocked out. The rain hadn't let up. I ran to my car, soaked to the bone, and started the wind on slow drive home. When I got there, I didn't even notice that my neighbors' cars weren't outside. I lived in a sort 3-unit house. I had the first floor, and 2 other tenants lived above and below me. I assumed they were home. I assumed I wasn't alone. That assumption nearly cost me. I just set my keys down when I heard it, loud, frantic pounding at my front door. My heart jumped into my throat. Who the hell would be knocking at this hour? I had 2 doors, a glass storm door and the actual wooden door. I always kept both locked. I slowly opened the inner door and froze. A denogirl stood on the other side of the glass door, soaking wet, hood up, face partially obscured. She begged me, voice shaking. Please let me in. I need to use your phone." I didn't open it. Something about her felt wrong. "Are you lost?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "And a man was following me. Please, I don't know where to go." And that's when it hit me. I recognized her. The girl from the diner. My stomach dropped. "Wait," I said slowly. "Weren't you just at my diner earlier?" She ignored my question. She turned and screamed. "There he is." I looked past her. A man, slowly walking toward the house. My blood ran cold. As he stepped into the porch light, the man from the diner, his face was calm. The girl turned back to me. Her expression wasn't fear. It was confusion. Like she didn't understand why I wasn't unlocking the door. Then her face hardened. "Go." The man charged at the door. I slammed. The inner door shut, deadbolted it, and stumbled back. Silence, no knocking, no pounding, nothing. But I wasn't about to check if they were still there. No one was home. Shaking, I ran to the stairway door, the only way to the other apartments. I pounded on my neighbors' doors. No answer. Then I looked outside. Their cars weren't there. I was alone in the house. I locked every door. I sat on my couch, listening to the storm outside, trying to convince myself that I was muki, born safe now. And then I heard it, a knocking. Not at my front door, at the stairway door, the only door separating me from the rest of the house. I stood up, heart hammering, and called out, "Who's there?" Silence. Then another knock. I called out my neighbors' names. Silence. I swallowed hard. "If you don't tell me who you are, I'm calling the police." Nothing. Then one final knock, and a voice. Soft, cold, wrong. "Your blood on me." Get up and Naukomai to my bedroom, locked the door, and called 911. The aftermath. I stayed hidden in my closet until the police arrived. They searched the house, the yard, found nothing. But before I left to stay at my parents' house, I saw it. A message scrawled across my stairway door. "Thanks for the service, Beth. I moved out the next month." I still work in hospitality, but now when someone asks me where I live, I lie, because next time I might not be so lucky.